These are all working.
Yeah, we're,
Yes. Yes.
yes.
You want to switch?
Hello? Check. This one's working.
Chief Magus? Chief, thank you. That's my
Check,
report.
check.
Thank you. We're good? Not like we're gonna need that one. So I don't think we're gonna need
Check,
that one.
check. Hello?
Scott, you'll
Hear
do
me?
Patty?
Is this thing on?
Good, thank you.
Check.
Check, check. Can you hear me?
Count your chickens.
You know what? That's the great thing you wanna do today. Did you see his website? He's got a website, almost his pictures like this. Maybe, I'm not sure. You know what I'm talking about. Didn't the bell just go off?
Shut this thing up. There's more batteries up here, Julia.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call our meeting to order. Could we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amanda, will you call the roll?
Trustee Messick?
Here.
Trustee Rocco is absent. Trustee Sheehan?
Here.
Trustee Casera?
Here.
Trustee Lautner?
Here.
Trustee Zora?
Here.
President DeCipio?
Here.
Quorum is present, sir.
Thank you, Amanda. Any public comment or public participation tonight? Anyone care to address the board? Okay, moving on, consent agenda. Amanda?
The items on this evening's consent agenda are as follows. A, approval of minutes, Village Board meeting, January 22nd, 2019. Work session meeting, February 12th, 2019. B, action zoning application number 2018-09, 1143 Robin Hood, zoning variation, motion to approve an ordinance granting a certain variation for 1143 Robin Hood, public hearing number 2018-09. C, action auditing services, motion to accept a proposal from BKD LLP to perform auditing services for fiscal years 2019 and 2020 and authorize the village manager to execute the engagement letter. D, 1201 Barnesdale, economic incentive agreement, amendment, motion to approve an ordinance of the Village of LaGrange Park, Cook County, Illinois, approving a first amendment to an economic incentive agreement between the Village of LaGrange Park, Cook County, Illinois, and 1201 Barnesdale LLC. E, action, motion to authorize the president and chairperson of the Finance Committee to sign the register for bills and authorize the treasurer and village clerk to sign the checks in payment of operating bills and salaries is itemized in the check registers. And F, action, motion to authorize the village treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in the payment of payroll and other bills that become due between this date and March 26, 2019, with subsequent approval of the payroll register and voucher register by the Board of Trustees at the regular meeting to be held March 26, 2019.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Casera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Amanda. Next on the agenda, Village Manager's Report. Julia?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have just one item to report this evening. Village staff is placing the finishing touches on the draft budget, and we anticipate that the budget will go out to the village board Tuesday of next week. Also, I wanted to let the village board know that our first finance committee meeting related to the review of the budget will take place on March 12th prior to the village board work session that evening. And that's all I have to report this evening.
Thank you, Julia. Administration Committee, Trustee Laudner.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, I have 3 items to report on to the community. First is regarding our new refuse program. The village is excited to announce that beginning this April, single-family and two-family residents will benefit from our new expanded solid waste and recycling program. After conducting a resident survey and a request for proposal process, the village selected Lakeshore Recycling Systems, LRS, to provide refuse and recycling services to the community. In total, this new program will save the community over $600,000 over the life of the contract versus what residents would have paid had the village stayed with their current program. Details on the new program can be found in the special edition of the rose clipping residents recently received on the village website, www.lagrangepark.org, and in a brochure residents will receive directly from LRS, which is the new provider. So I encourage everyone to review this information. It's an exciting new program that provides a lot of new benefits and services, and also at a cost savings overall for the entire community. Second item is regarding the Arbor Day nominations. National Arbor Day is Friday, April 26th. The village is accepting nominations to plant a tree in honor or in memory of a person or a group that has made positive contributions to the community or whose achievements deserve special recognition. To submit your nomination, please visit our village website at www.lagrangepark.org to download a nomination form or contact Sandy Bacallich for more information. Nominations will be accepted through April 5th. The tree will be planted in a public space in a park or parkway, etc., during a public ceremony in late April or early May, and a small plaque mentioning the honoree will be installed at the base of the tree. And the third and last item to report on this evening is regarding, once again, our community e-briefs. We continue to encourage residents to sign up for the village e-briefs to provide for information on what is happening in our village in LaGrange Park through that document and information. Our weekly electronic newsletter that is mailed out each Friday. The village currently has over 2,000 subscribers. Residents may sign up for e-briefs by going to the homepage of the village website, again at www.lagrangepark.org. I encourage all of our residents to sign up for this important communications vehicle. And that's the last item that I have to report on this evening in the administration here, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Laudner. Building and Zoning Committee, Trustee Zora.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to report the building department activities for January of 2019. 17 building permits were issued in January compared to 29 last January. The estimated construction costs for the month were approximately 32% of what they were in January of 2018. Permit fees collected were approximately 44% of what they were last January. 74 inspections were conducted this past January compared to 50 in January in 2019. 9 were not approved. During the month, neared completion on a couple of projects in the Village Market, including the small tenant expansion at the Dr. Fieldhouse office and the new Bishop's Cuts and Color. In addition, the village received plans to review for renovation at Panera. Staff has also been working with CBRE at various times to try to get them to keep the public sidewalks clear of snow. Various types of inspections continued throughout the month for the new assisted living building at CSJ. Drywall of the first floor residential units is nearly complete. The permit for the new Children's Montessori School at 1905 East 31st Street was issued. Plans had to be resubmitted various times to correct deficiencies. At the end of the month, remodeling of all the Homestead Apartments laundry rooms were nearly completed, which was a project that lasted several months, and that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zora. Engineering Capital Projects Committee, Trustee Cassiera.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening I have 4 items to report on. As previously reported, the closeout work on the village's 2018 paving program continues. The contractor, K5 Construction Company, has a few remaining items on the punch list to complete. However, the temperature needs to moderate in the spring, whenever that is, before these landscaping items can be performed. The final documentation process for the Harding Avenue resurfacing project continues. Since these improvements were contracted through the Illinois Department of Transportation, IDOT, all construction-related matters must follow their procedures. These activities will also continue through this winter. Final documentation also continues on the Sherwood Road resurfacing project that was completed in October. The project is also contracted through the Illinois Department of Transportation, and as such requires a considerable amount of work to generate the required documentation and material inspection reports. Final item, during January, the Village Board approved extending an existing sewer cleaning and televising contract with National Power Routing. These areas selected this year include the streets that are part of the 2019 paving program and sewer segments where we are currently experiencing drainage deficiencies. This work will be completed in February, and the information used to develop a sewer repair program for further discussion in late spring. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Casera. Public Safety Committee, Trustee Messick.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will start with the Police Department report, summary of activities for January of 2019. Total crimes reported for the first month of 2019 are similar to last year, with 28 incidents reported this year compared to 30 last. Overall police activity is slightly higher, with 1,027 incidents reported in January of this year compared to 836 last year. Note, please be aware that 420 of the incidents in 2019 were traffic stops. Total tickets issued for the month of January 2019 were at 390 various citations. Coffee with the Chief and staff will take place at Plymouth Place on Wednesday, March 13th from 7 to 8 p.m. Also, the next session of the Police Citizen Academy will take place from Thursday, April 4th through May 2nd from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Village Hall Boardroom. Please be aware that spots are filling up quickly and it is a first-come, first-served basis. The coordinator of the program is Officer Chris Dempsey, and his contact info is 708-352-7711, extension 125, or email cdempsey, D-E-M-P-S-E-Y, at lagrangepark.org. I would encourage anybody to take advantage of these programs. They're very informational. And lastly, the LaGrange Park Police Department police commissioners are presently in the last phase involving the oral interview process, with 9 final applicants for the opportunity to make a final patrol officer listing for the police department. The list is completed at this point and will be valid for 2 years, or if it's exhausted earlier. That concludes police department report, and on to fire department for the month of January. EMS incidents this month were 151. This compares to 138 in January of last year. Fire rescue incidents this month were 61 compared to 34 in January of 2018. On January 6th, one of our ambulance crews and the chief attended a full-scale training exercise in a nearby village involving a rescue task force response to an active shooter. During the month, staff met with IRMA, our risk management group, to discuss and clarify various aspects of coverage and liability related to fire department operations related to our paid on-call personnel. Staff began witnessing the pressure testing of the fire sprinkler piping in various areas of the new building being constructed at Congregation of St. Joseph. There will be various fire sprinkler system inspections at our fire stations due to negative implications heavy snow and extreme cold can have on our operations, and especially on paid personnel, who are expected to respond from home to the station in such conditions. During such time, we responded to various incidents such as a broken water pipe in a house on Stone, an overheated garage door opener on Blanchard, and a structure fire in Westchester. Staff also met with School District 95 during the month to discuss sections of their crisis plan, especially related to, during, and after the current construction projects. And that concludes the fire department report. There is one action item, and that would be duty officer vehicle purchase. General background: the fire department is in need of replacing our duty officer vehicle, Unit 1218. The current vehicle is a 2008 Ford Expedition EL model. The duty officer vehicle is utilized regularly throughout the day for response to incidents and various other tasks. It carries a variety of equipment necessary for the response to fire, rescue, and medical incidents. It's also taken home by the duty officer, and on most instances is kept outside. In planning for and pursuing replacement, fire department staff evaluated current needs and investigated which vehicles were available for purchase through state and joint purchasing programs. Staff has determined that our best option is to purchase a Chevrolet Tahoe available through the Suburban Purchasing Cooperative, which the fire department has utilized in the past to purchase some vehicles. There is $45,000 budgeted for this purchase in the Capital Projects Fund. The total cost of the vehicle as specified is $37,546.98. There will be some ancillary costs associated with the purchase, such as installation of radios, emergency lighting, and lettering, but the fire department should be able to absorb these costs using the remaining funds. At this time, staff plans to sell the unit we are taking out of service, which should further offset any remaining ancillary costs. So the motion to be requested is fire department purchase, duty officer vehicle, motion to purchase a new 2019 Chevrolet Tahoe police patrol package for cost of $37,546.98 from Curry Motors Chevrolet in Forest Park, Illinois, through the Suburban Purchasing Cooperative, contract number 185.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second discussion. Trustee Messick?
Yes, well, first I'm going to read one other note that was on here. It should be noted this matter is being brought before the board for both discussion and action because the factory cutoff date for this year's model is March 15th. The dealer has indicated there is a possibility that it may not be delivered the current fiscal year, but staff is working with the finance department to rebudget it to accommodate such if it's necessary. And I said the fire department gets full use out of their vehicles. I think I'm in full support of this. We've gone 11 years with the last one, and this is an important piece of emergency equipment.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Any other comments? Trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President. Noting a trustee inquiry regarding the purchase of this item, I think, things seem to be in order, budgeted item, but we do purchase quite a few number of vehicles for the village, of varying mileages, of course, and we do have a tendency to keep these vehicles for a long time, which is terrific, but I know that sometimes that leads to increased maintenance costs and things of that nature. So I think it might make sense going forward at some point to take a look at lease versus purchase. Does it make sense to do that? I know there are other communities that have looked at that and have done that, others that have declined to do that, and as a means of, I'll say, managing capital expense and maintenance costs and the duration of how long we keep, I'll say, state-of-the-art equipment, et cetera. I would suggest that in the relatively near future that we direct staff to take a look at the possibility of lease versus purchase on certain vehicles at a minimum.
Great, Trustee Lautner. I think that's a great idea, a great inquiry, and you're right, other villages do look at this. So maybe if the board is comfortable to maybe give some directive to staff to do a pro and con list of lease versus purchase for future consideration when we need a replacement down the road. Everybody okay with that?
Sure. Never hurts to have more information.
Great. Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Anything else, Trustee Messick? Anybody else? Okay, Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Casera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes?
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And that concludes public safety.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Moving on, Public Works Committee, Trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. For January, as follows: Public Works winter operations went into full force in January. 231 day shift hours were spent plowing and salting roadways, along with clearing sidewalks and school crosswalks. 394 hours of overtime were spent in January on winter operations. Public Works salted 2,427 miles of roadway using 398 tons of salt, and a mighty fine job all did. Thank you. 131 and a half regular hours were spent on the maintenance of Public Works equipment and vehicles. Salt truck calibration was completed, regulating salt output and spread patterns. 75 hours were spent filling potholes and patching water excavations with approximately 11 tons of asphalt being used. Street sweeping halted in mid-January as winter finally showed itself, spending only 24 daytime hours sweeping 105 miles of village roadways were swept, collecting 24 yards of debris and leaves. 196 day shift hours were spent on buildings and ground maintenance around Public Works facility, the Village Hall, and along 31st Street. Tree maintenance, trimming, and inspections were performed during 24.5 regular hours. Work orders were completed with crews removing roadkill, making sign repairs, and attending to residents' concern. Various maintenance was performed for the water departments as follows. 31,300,000 gallons of water were purchased from the Brookfield North Riverside Water Commission. 1,269 water meters were read in Section 1. 55 monthly accounts and 15 final meter readings were taken. Various inspection appointments and service calls were performed. 2 water sewer inspections, 41 meter appointments, and 21 service calls were also performed. 15 water bacterial samples were taken, and quarterly stage 2 samples were taken as well. 78 utility locations were identified prior to excavation. 3 6-inch water mains and 1 8-inch water main were repaired. 3 valve boxes were repaired. Mr. President, I have 2 action items. Next one is intergovernmental agreement for the Brewster Avenue paving. Purpose is to enter into an IGA with the Village of LaGrange for the paving of Brewster Avenue. Last year, LaGrange informed LaGrange Park that they were planning on replacing their water main along Brewster Avenue. It was in the best interest of both parties that we postpone our portion of paving until the water main replacement was complete, so the pavement was concurrent between both portions of Brewster Avenue. Since we are bidding out the last phase of our 2016 road bond program, it was agreed upon by both Public Works directors that LaGrange Park will take the lead on paving of the roadway. As identified in the IGA, LaGrange will reimburse LaGrange Park 50% of Phase 2 design engineering, 50% for Phase 3 construction engineering, and their portion of all other quantities for construction based on the bid pricing from the contractor that will be awarded the project. Bids will be open March 5th, and a recommendation will be presented to the Village Board during the work session meeting on March 12th. Village Attorney Kathy Keating, as well as Village Engineer Paul Flood, reviewed the content of the IGA. Therefore, Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the IGA as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. Trustee Sheehan?
The roadway did not need to be disturbed twice. In doing so, the aesthetics remain good. There's no problem why we shouldn't pass this.
Any other comments? Yes.
I just
Trustee
wanted,
Zora?
oh, thank you. I wanted to applaud staff on the coordination and collaboration of working with LaGrange. I think it's great that we're working together since we're so close to combine efforts and save money. So thanks.
You need my short discussion with council on my right here. I guess they looked at it last night, LaGrange,
Mark
possibly?
Berglund said they were going to consider it last night. Did they approve it?
Oh, great. Okay. Any other comments? Trustee Lautner?
Just to clarify, to make sure I understand, is that, you know, a lot of times things come up out of our control, and I'm not sure how it's addressed, but, you know, should those types of things come up, is it going to be totally dependent upon what side of the road that it occurred on, or is it generally agreed that we would both split the unexpected expenses?
It's generally agreed that we will split unexpected expenses, but it's all by mutual agreement. And if something, there is language in the agreement that says if something is attributable to specifically LaGrange Park, we will pick it up. If something's specifically attributable to LaGrange, they'll pick it up.
Good. Thank you.
Amanda, call the roll?
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Casera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next, Mr. President, is IGA for the Emergency Water Interconnect. The purpose is to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of LaGrange for operation and maintenance for 2 emergency interconnects for the water. The Village of LaGrange Park and the Village of LaGrange currently have one emergency interconnect at Kemen and Shawmut Avenues. Both villages are interested in establishing a second interconnect at LaGrange Road and Brewster as part of LaGrange's water main replacement. The IGA establishes guidelines for the emergency operation as well as who is responsible for connection maintenance. LaGrange Park would be responsible for half of the installation costs and half of the ongoing connection maintenance. The Public Works directors have chosen not to include a metering station due to the initial investment and maintenance costs associated with the infrequent use of bidirectional meter operations. The parties agree to employ an estimate supplied volume, SCADA meters, of water during an actual emergency to be reimbursed by the village receiving the water. Protection of the individual water supplies will be maintained with the installation of a gate valve on the two respective distribution systems. The valve will be utilized in a locked-out position to prevent accidental opening. Therefore, Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the IGA as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Trustee Sheehan?
It's quite frankly, a public safety issue that we have the water there, that we could use it in case of an emergency. And the fact that the two directors can work together, they both need to be applauded for that. So, for the safety of the residents and having like a backfeed in case we ever needed it, totally for it.
Any other comments? Public Works Director Eddy, any additional comments?
This has been a long undertaking to, excuse me, this is something that we've been trying to do for a long time with the Village of LaGrange. Unfortunately, this never happened because we didn't have anything that was close by that was convenient. And with them doing this water main projects and us just doing some water main work on LaGrange Road not that long ago, it's a perfect connection point to two big water mains that will be able to do some good in the event that we would have an emergency either way. So this is, again, this is something that's probably been 15 years in the making, just coming to fruition right now, so.
Great, and thank you, Rick, for all your efforts, and to, I guess, piggyback on Trustee Zora's comments. It's great to work cooperatively with our neighbors, which is great. Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Casera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
That concludes my Public Works portion tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Sheehan. Finance Committee, in Patty, Trustee Rocco's absence, I've asked Trustee Messick to give the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Where are we going to find it? Finance Department report for the month of January 2019. Fiscal year to date, general fund revenue is at 68% of the annual budget and about $273,000 higher than the prior year. Property tax revenue was 9% lower than last year, primarily due to the timing of receipts. Last year, the village received a portion of the property tax sooner than usual, as some people paid their tax bills early due to the federal law tax changes. Sales tax receipts are about 13% higher than last year, while telecommunications taxes are down by 8.5%. Permit revenue is up to about $14,000 or 5.1% compared to last year. Intergovernmental revenue is up about 10% compared to last year, with income tax receipts 8.8% higher than last year, and state use tax 14% higher than last year. Fine revenue is up 4.3% compared to last year, and miscellaneous revenue is significantly higher than last year due primarily to the increase in tower lease fees, interest income, and new NetWest radio system member reimbursements. Total general fund expenditures are within expectations at 68% of the annual budget and about $136,500 greater than last year. And that concludes the finance report, Mr. President. There is no action items.
Thank you, Trustee Messick, and thank you for on such a short notice. Other reports, Village Clerk?
I have a few items to report for the upcoming April 2nd consolidated election. The last day to register to vote by paper application and here at Village Hall is March 5th. First day of early voting begins on March 18th. The clerk's office here at Village Hall will be open on Saturday, March 2nd, from 9 to noon to register voters, and I will be at Plymouth Place on Friday from 11 to 1 to register voters. And that is all I have to report.
Thank you, Amanda. Village Treasurer?
No report tonight, Mr. President.
Village Engineer?
No report, Mr. President.
Our Village Attorney?
No report, Mr. President.
Commercial Revitalization? Trustee Kucera?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one item to report on this evening. SB Friedman Development Advisors continues to work on the market analysis and residual land analysis for the former Pancake House property. Staff recently reviewed and discussed the first draft of the market analysis with SB Friedman. They currently working on the residual land analysis component of the staff, anticipating providing the completed report to the village board in March. That's all I have to report on, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Kucera. Motion to approve committee and collectors' reports as presented.
So moved.
Second, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I have two items. One, Julie and I will be meeting with the village managers and presidents of Village of LaGrange and Western Springs on Wednesday night to discuss LTAC operations and just to get some camaraderie between our three villages. Also, I received from Chief Magus an announcement. And if I may so, Chief, this past November, ISO surveyed our community to evaluate us for what they consider a property protection classification, or what is commonly known as our ISO rating. As explained by ISO, this survey is used to complete its analysis of the structural fire suppression delivery system provided in our village. ISO last issued a rating in November of 2012, where our village improved from a long-standing classification of 5 to a classification of 3. The Chief is happy to report that based upon the most recent survey, we have been able to maintain the classification of 3. Moreover, although we remain a 3, our overall base score for our village actually improved nearly 5 percentage points, up from a total of 70.45 points in 2012 to a total of 75.34 in 2019. Out of the classifications issued throughout the country, we can be considered to be in the top 14%. Very impressive, Chief. More information will be forthcoming as we break down the details of the report, but for now, credit for such must be given to our fire department staff, both those who worked hard on the survey components and especially those who work hard every day keeping our fire department operating as it does. Credit must also be given to Public Works employees and LTAC, as the grading for this classification is also based on our water supply and emergency communications. Lastly, everyone in our village administration and on our board should be given credit for helping support the efforts our departments and LTAC undertake to achieve that. Well done. Chief, any comments? You could have read this, but I needed it in my report.
No, other than it would have been great to go up to a 2. But we're happy, we're happy it didn't go down, but there was some improvement there. Once we look at the detailed analysis, we'll look at areas that we may question or clarify why we didn't get credit in certain areas. And obviously, there are always room to improve, or areas that we can improve upon. But it all takes time and money in some cases, so we always have to evaluate that. Overall, we're happy to improve, even though the overall rating number didn't change. Again, we just found out late yesterday. I've not gone through the entire packet, but their formulas are pretty complex, and we have to look at each item and what was scored well and what changed in the comparisons overall, which we started to do. But again, just getting this number, we kind of took a cursory look at the whole packet. But the results are overall good, I think. So
great, fantastic, and in addition to all of the individuals and groups that you had mentioned to thank, I'd like to also thank you for your leadership in making this all possible. So thank you, Chief.
appreciate it. Thank you, all of you.
Okay, public participation of non-agenda related items. Anyone care to address the board? Any new business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Everybody have a great week.
Good job.